it's an easy read. And it's interesting because this is a very, very consistent theme. Even on our Amazon reviews and our Goodread reviews, what people say is it's an easy read, but it's not, because it insists that you look inside of yourself and start to think about the things that you don't really want to think about. Right. And, he said the thing for him is it actually changed his mindset in terms of where he wanted to take his career.
Let me tell you about a woman who don't perform for the crowd, who don't dress up her truth to make the room feel comfortable.
And welcome back, listeners and viewers, to another episode of the Unbreakable Podcast. Hey, Josie, how's it going?
It's going. It's been a super busy week. Exciting busy week, though.
Yeah, it's been a busy week because, as everybody can see, we've got a third here on our banter podcast. And we are just so excited to introduce our new Unbreakable intern, Grace Warren. Hi, Grace. How's it going?
Good. Yeah, I'm so excited to be a part of this. I truly feel like I'm meant to be here, and yeah, let's get to it. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I think before we jump right into it, I think how do we talk about how Kait and Grace met? Well,
yeah,
everybody knows that Kait has a saying in her family, and it is that strangers are just friends we haven't met yet. And I was flying to a tech conference begrudgingly. I mean, it was nice to go. Florida is fine. It was hot. And as I was flying, I had to connect in Chicago. And there was this very wonderful human who gave me a lap dance on the way into her middle seat, and her name was Grace. And so instead of buying her dinner, I said, hey, can I give you some internship hours? I'm kidding. But we ended up spending, we talked like pretty much the whole flight.
Yeah, and it didn't even feel like 3 hours.
No, and it was life shit, and it was like growth, and it was art, and it was an amazing conversation, and we had this really great connection, and we just bantered back and forth. We were batting ideas around, we were talking creatively, and I got off the plane and I was like, Josie, this human is amazing, and we've got an opportunity here, and the rest is history. So I set you two up and we were off to the races.
Yeah. I heard about you pretty much instantly.
Yeah.
Which doesn't surprise me. Every time Kait goes on a plane, she comes back with a new friend. So it's finally like an artist.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, and I just graduated too. And honestly, even like the content of the book I need, so it was so cool. So cool.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic to meet you, and even better, like, I mean, I think it was the collaboration that we had after the fact where, we exchanged phone numbers, and it was, hey, let's not just have it be a flash in the pan. And so just for you guys who are listening and watching right now, Grace is an artist, and she's just graduated from Medicine Hat College here in Alberta. And she's got, some apprenticeship hours or internship hours that need to be fulfilled. And so she's jumping in the boat with us while she's working full time and while she's trying to promote and engage and put her art out into the world so that she can inspire greatness and good things. So, Grace, why don't you talk just a little bit about what those interests are and how you see your artistic and creativity kind of falling into the world? What do you want to bring into the world with that artistic approach?
Yeah,
I'm excited.
I've always loved like really bright imagery. I've always loved just expressing emotions and feelings in a visual way. At least I try to. And so now, just with Unbreakable, like a lot of my art is very intuitive, and I find if I just shut the brain down and just start going, things happen and even profound insight I get. And a lot of my stuff has been a lot to do with like reflection, mirrors, just like the people around you, how they affect you day-to-day life. And so just even, intuitively, even without, I've just been making stuff based all on that. And I feel like on an artistic journey and on a personal journey, it's just been in total alignment with the book release. Yeah, no, I'm really excited.
Amazing.
I really feel that my art, it goes with everything that you. So
I agree. And I was moved by the one of your final projects, particularly your reflective piece that you produced. And I'd love for you to send Josie a picture of that so we can put it in post-production so that people can
Yes.
see what it is that you produce. Because when we think of reflection, I mean, it's such a huge part of how we learn and how we move forward and how we grow. And the way that you articulated it in a visual, statuesque kind of piece was just and actually the lights that you put around it and the way that you just gave it life, it just I found it to be a piece of art that really moved me. And
Yeah.
what's interesting too is if you look in pathway 5 or 6, you would find an activity called the rear view mirror, and it's all
Oh,
about
sick.
reflection. Yeah, it is. It's pathway 6. And it's all about reflection and looking back to where you've come from, to where you are, to where you want to go.
Yeah. Oh, very
Powerful
cool.
exercise.
Yeah, I'm not
I
that
think
far
you'll love
yet,
it.
but
Yeah.
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 Oh, very
So to kick us off, okay, Josie, I'm going to hit the pause button in terms of what your update is, because I think that just deserves the time as well. Like, I mean, holy Hannah, we have had so much change on our team in the past couple of weeks. And,
Yeah.
but before we jump into that, we've been getting a lot of feedback from our viewers and our listeners about Debatable. I have to
Yes.
I have to say, very interesting. I sometimes don't even get a hello, hi, how are you? I just get a response from somebody and they'll be like, oh, cooking fish in the office, heating fish up in the office is terrible. Don't do that. Um, so
Hmm.
we've been getting like a lot of feedback from our listeners on our Debatable. And sometimes I don't even get like a hi, hello. What I get is an answer. Like, oh, the cardinal sin is heating fish in the office, not clipping your toes.
okay.
Okay.
That's
So
fun.
the way that this works is I'm going to give you 2 different answers and you've got to pick which side of the fence you're sitting on. So, here's the first one. Asking for directions versus wandering around aimlessly.
Hmm.
I'm
Dep-
going with the wandering around. I find my own way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I find my own way, but if I'm in a panic, I'm gonna be asking someone. I'll be like, hey, you, help me. But yeah,
I'm a wanderer. I really am.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I'm also an avid map reader. I mean, that was a cadet thing. Did I mention I was in cadets
Yeah.
for several years?
what would we
I was
do?
in Air Cadets.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I was a grunt.
Yeah.
I was a grunt.
Mm.
Ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
Natural enemies. I know.
Yeah.
air cadets.
We get to fly.
You were an air cadet
Not
too,
me,
Grace?
'cause
Yeah, for a little period. Yeah.
2 against 1.
Oh,
Yeah, so you
yeah. Well,
found me wearing. I put like the safety pins in my ears, and I was drawing on my hands. Like you could tell I was a total artist even then. But
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It reminds me like
yeah,
this one time I was going through my gothic phase and so I took my combat boots from cadets and I paired them with like a black dress and I had like this crazy so I was like the Blantisma
Ooh.
blonde where it was like not even toned, it was just yellow and like all of the patches of brown that we missed because we were not very good at this. And I would wear like black lipstick and like a spiked dog collar. And my dad looks at me one day and he's
Nice.
like,
no, me too. I
so
had the
Grace, yeah,
same moment.
yeah. So my dad looks at me and he goes, "You're so beautiful. Like, what is this? Like, what are you doing?" And I said to him, "Dad, man, I'm just trying to make a statement."
Yeah.
And he leans over and he says to me, "No, Catherine, oh shit is a statement. That just looks stupid." I was like, hmm. Oh. So if anyone
Sounds like my
ever
mom.
wonders where I'm getting my directness from, that's where it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Next debatable. Peanut butter and jelly or bacon, lettuce, tomato?
Oh, PB&J. Poor kid in me is like favorite meal right there.
Yeah.
You got jam? Oof. It was a good week.
Oof, no doubt.
Yeah. When I wasn't like I haven't eaten pork in like 6 years. But prior to, I would definitely say a BLT is good for sure.
Mm.
Yeah.
I could go either way. I'm not a big fan of bacon, mostly because of how it makes my hair smell. But I am that vain. Like whatever. I don't want to run around smelling like pork all the time. Um,
Oh, your
but yeah,
hair.
PB.
You saying it smells like
Yeah,
bacon? Okay.
well, yeah. If you cook it, everything just smells like.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm probably the PB&J kind of gal, but you know what? If I'm hungry, a BLT,
Mm.
but it has to
A
have
good
mayo on
BLT
it.
does hit the spot.
Yeah. How do we feel about
Yeah.
mayo?
I
Yeah.
like mayo,
Yeah.
just not a lot of mayo. When it starts
Yeah.
to feel oily and just overpowering, where
Okay,
is it?
just like a little bit,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
How
just
about you,
enough to have the
Grace?
taste.
Yeah.
You
How about
guys
you,
heard of
Grace? Are you?
banana peel bacon? Yeah, you hear of that one? Oh,
No.
well, get banana peels, you put it in barbecue sauce, let it marinate, and then you fry it, and yeah, tastes like bacon.
You.
I thought you
I'm
weren't supposed
sorry.
to eat banana peels.
Well, ye- well, I wonder, eh? But this is the
Hmm.
vegetarian way. I wonder,
Well, I
hey, if
forgot you were a
gotta wash.
vegetarian. I'm like, why are you eating compost? Stop that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not anymore. I definitely love my turkey, my chicken, but I was a good 5 years. Yeah.
Huh.
Man, I think we all go through that phase. I was a closet Big Mac
Yeah.
eater
Yeah.
about a year in, and then I was like, what am I doing? See, I'm
Yeah.
good with mayo. I love mayo, but only like a proper amount. But
Yeah.
you know, there's a story in the book, and it's one of the stories of, it's one of the stories of working. And I worked at this tax firm, and there was this woman, and I don't remember what I called her in the book, so I'm not going to say her name out loud here, but Stella or something like that. And she was like, she had the cutest wardrobe. Like, I loved her outfits, but she was also very petite, right? And we all know I am not a petite person. But she would go to the restaurant next door and get this like sandwich, and it was slathered. Like, I mean, slathered in mayonnaise. And every time, and she wore this burgundy lipstick. And every single time I'd look at her, she'd have like a glob of mayonnaise on the top lip or down her chin, or like it was the most repulsive thing. I'm like, what? Like, do you not feel that?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
mayo
It's-
has to be like minimal
Yeah.
Agreed.
because I can't have
Totally.
Stella mouth.
I gotta try this banana peel bacon though. And if
Yeah.
I get myself sick, it's Grace's fault.
You just gotta scrape the insides
schmutz
of it.
off?
And then yeah.
Okay.
But
I'll give it a
Banana
shot. I'll
peel,
try
bacon,
everything
barbecue.
once.
You have to let me know because the girl Ruth might want to try that. All right. Okay,
yeah.
no,
Yeah.
this one is very controversial. Very controversial. Which is the superior piece of brownie? An edge or a centerpiece?
Centerpiece.
I like the edge.
Oh, what?
See, I'm a
Yeah.
centerpiece
But what
girl
if you get a
too.
hard
I
edge?
just
I like
that's probably
soggy
what she
fries too, so
Oh,
Oh man, Gen Z, you're
we
letting us
fired her
down.
already, or?
Put it on her performance review. What the hell?
Yeah.
She eats banana peels. Okay, so
Her
we
food
basically
choices, I don't know.
so what we've done is we've hired a goat.
Yeah.
Honestly,
yeah, I'll just eat the
okay,
pieces for you. No.
yeah. So I'm
No,
gonna
you
turn
just cut
around.
those edges off.
Oh, so
Yeah.
okay, so I'm
Make it
gonna
a
turn
centerpiece.
around and I'm gonna do a Grace imitation, but I can't do it when I'm facing you. So just wait. Just wait.
Okay. Oh.
Damn. That's pretty good.
I may have won a talent show doing animal noises in junior high, but you know,
You're joking.
no, I'm not.
The more you get to know her, you'll know that it's not a joke.
Keep reading the book, Grace. You're gonna be like, what the
Yeah.
frig? Okay, so this is a good perspective. This is a really good perspective. Is cereal really just a cold soup?
Mm.
Dehydrated and remolded bread.
Man, when you put it that way, it just sounds so delicious.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of
Mm.
make me crave corn pops now.
Yeah.
Well, that
No,
shit cuts my
Reese's
mouth
Puffs.
up.
Oh yeah, me too. But there's like
I'm really
the
into
once every 2 years that I'm like just a bowl of like Reese's Puffs and
just
not
to
a
chew
big
the
one.
shit out of your mouth, and then you're like, okay, I'm
Exactly.
good
Yeah.
for 2 years.
Yeah. I pay good money for this. I might as well rip it up at some point.
Yeah. Oh man, my cereals. So we're big fans of like Raisin Bran. If that comes in the house, everybody turns into an 89-year-old lady. We love that shit.
Mm-hmm.
But rice checks, I like that's one of my meal plan foods. I love it.
I like the double chocolate one.
The honey one is nice.
Oh, I don't think I've tried the honey. Oh,
Yeah.
you guys are making me
Yeah.
hungry.
Oh,
Like the
I know.
Cheerios, honey nut
These are the.
Cheerios.
Oh,
Ooh,
yeah.
Cheerios
You
are
know what?
good too.
I think
I
that's
feel
like a
less
Gen
guilty with them.
Z. I feel like that's like a Gen Z food choice. My daughter, like, she was like a Cheerios fanatic her entire life.
Wait, the regular Cheerios though, or multigrain?
Honey
Multi-grain.
nut.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna stray away from anything other than that, I'll just get a chocolate bar, honestly.
Yeah, fair.
At that
Yeah,
point,
this is true.
same.
Sugar content's pretty much the same.
It is.
All right, I'm going to give you guys one more, and then we've got a couple of questions. But before we get to those questions, Josie, we have some stuff for our listeners to hear about how amazing you are. The better honorary doctor, Dr. Dre or Dr. Pepper?
Dre.
Dre,
I'm
all
not
day.
a pop fan.
Dr. Pepper, you said?
Yeah. Like the drink Dr. Pepper.
Oh, I see. Yeah, no, Dre for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Amazing. So, okay. So, I mean, speaking of strangers or just friends we haven't met before, we have had a wonderful guest on the podcast a couple times, Mr. Earl Thiessen. And Earl is, of course, as everybody knows, because we get a ton of feedback, positive feedback about Earl. He's the executive director for a fantastic program called Oxford House. And I was traveling as per the norm, and I got this text message from Josie. Oh my God, guess what I just did? And I was like, what did you just do? And she said, I just had lunch with Earl. I have never even met Earl in person, and Josie and Earl connected so hard that they got together and they had a lunch date together. And Josie, talk to us about what has come out of that.
Yeah.
Well, Earl was the one that suggested that we go for lunch because Kait's internet, as most people actually they don't get to know because I always edit that part out. Her internet messes up, which on my end worked out very well because Earl and I share a very similar story. And the last time we had him on the podcast, we had about 10 minutes of downtime where Earl didn't want to talk to himself. So we talked. And I just told him a little bit more about my recovery story for the people that are just tuning in or haven't heard much of that. I'm going to be 6 years in recovery, June 16th. So Earl headhunted me, asked me out for dinner pretty much to tell me that I have no choice but to go work for him.
Wow.
And I went for an interview within a couple days. That day at dinner, I told her a little bit more about my story. And before dinner was done, they had already taken the ad down for the job. And before I got to leave, I had the 2 emails to the people I needed to email my resume and just kind of my backstory to, which was very, very, very hard to write. It's the first time in my life I ever had to tell the nitty gritty to get a job. It's usually put that in the back corner and hope no one ever has to know about that. Not that shame should be put on that, but unfortunately that is the world we live in. So I went for the interview and it was the longest interview of my life in all the good ways. What should have been about 15, 20 minutes was an hour and a half. And I hit it off with them. And within a couple of days, I got a phone call saying, hey, we want you to start like yesterday, but started June 1st. And this is my first week. And it's been wild being on the other side of recovery. I did a lot of my recovery alone, minus my cousin. He, bless him, if he does actually listen to this podcast, Jamie, you're a sweetheart, and I don't know how you dealt with my shit, but he did and got me through my recovery. But now I get to be on the other side of that and help walk with other people through their journey and, support, do the thing I do normally, just now I get paid for it, and I meet some pretty cool people so far. But Oxford House really is as great as Earl says it is. Most people talk up their job as if, it's the best thing out there, but Oxford does so much good for Alberta. and they're expanding to the East Coast and helping with that. So that's how or why Earl wanted to headhunt me. I'm from the East Coast of Canada, and we have nothing there really when it comes to recovery. So no help until Earl
Well,
Thiessen shows up.
Earl Thiessen,
Yeah.
he's a blessing. And the other side of this, and you and I, you sent me, all the things like this is what was happening. And it's so interesting because Grace, the universe inserted you at this really, really pivotal moment where Josie's experiencing some change and you require something. The two of you can actually blend together and work. And I remember I was sitting there waiting, and I think I texted you and I was like, hello, could I have an update, please?
Yeah,
And you were
you're like,
like,
so?
I was like, so, like what happened? It's been like 900 days. Okay. It was like 2 hours, but so, you had told me that you got that offer, and I'm not surprised. I'm not at all. But what I am surprised about is that the universe put this beautiful Grace in our pathway at a time where you're going to be upskilling and moving into this new space, and we're not going to lose momentum in the podcast or in the marketing. In fact, I feel like we're going to move closer to the goals that we have and some of the big ideas that we have because of this amazing team. And so, Grace, you're a perfect piece to this team because of the livelihood that you bring and the education that you have and the vision. I think it is what really is exciting, is the
Yeah.
artistic vision of how do we take Unbreakable forward? How do we honor Josie as she's moving through this change curve and learning this new role, and giving you the ability to kind of spread those wings and bring what you've just learned in your graduation over to this really, really cool project.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like, it's so cool, honestly, how it's all lined up. And I got such a heart too for the homeless as well, like for people in recovery and all that. Like, it's all so cool. It's just it's the puzzle piece just fits.
Well, it
Yeah.
is. I mean, one of the
Yeah.
conversations that we had just immediately, I think it was either immediately before or after Josie's interview, you were traveling to a new job in a different part of the city, and it took you like 6 business days just to get to work. And one of the things that you recognized was that there's no place for an in-house person to charge their phone, that everything has been, we don't want these people around. We don't want them hanging about. So, and your heart and your desire to serve other people regardless of what their circumstances, I think, was just a really big draw for us in making the offer to bring you on as our first Unbreakable intern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's so cool.
So
Yeah.
wonderful. So big, big, big congratulations, Josie. We're so excited to hear about this. And I know that, I mean, we've got Unbreakable in a great spot. We've got this great new intern who's going to be supporting. We're not dropping any balls, and our listeners and our viewers and our followers on social media can expect to see an enhanced Unbreakable as some of the projects that the team are working on start to come to life, because Grace is bringing some really, really cool ideas to the table.
Yeah,
So
she's got some cool ideas floating up in there.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Would have enough, but yeah. Yeah.
this is awesome. This is awesome. Okay, so let's jump into a couple of listener questions. And so what we've got today is a couple of Gen Z focused
Wait.
questions. Oh, I'm sorry.
I meant to text you this, but it's even better that it's on the podcast. So at Oxford House, we have 14 homes in Calgary. I am assigned to 4. I was checking out what they call the pre-treatment side. This is before they get to go into, housing for however long. Met a guy that was there for 16 years, actually. But one of the recovery coaches that I met, I was talking about Unbreakable because she had the 4, oh my God. The 4, it'll come to me. Where is my book? The one I read almost every year now. 4 Agreements.
Oh, the 4 Agreements.
Okay. Yeah. So I was like, excellent book. Good choice. And she's like, oh, yeah. Do you have any that like come to the top of your mind? I'm like, well, I did help work on a book called Unbreakable. And she's like, Unbreakable. I read that. I was like, okay, but there's 2 Unbreakables. There's one with the white cover, not as cool because I didn't do the cover design. So it's also not written by Kait and Josie. And she goes, no, like the Rising Phoenix one. I'm like, yeah. And she's like, oh, yeah, I picked that up. I'm like, do you know, like, are you close with Earl? Do you listen to the podcast? And she goes, no, I didn't know Earl was on a podcast. I was like, do you know Kait and Josie's Albertan? Like, she lives here in Alberta, like not far from where we are right now. And she's like, well, yeah, I only figured that out in the book though. And I'm like, how did that connection? And I'm like, I did the cover art for that. And she's like, no, you didn't. I'm like, turn it around. You'll see on the back of it that my name is there. And she's like, oh, when I go home, it's the first thing I'm doing. It's like, that
That
is
is incredible.
wild that this is someone that actually hasn't listened to our podcast, didn't even know Earl was on it, not once, but twice, and has
Wow.
read Unbreakable and just boasted about it. And I'm like, wait, are you like trying to josh me right now? Because I just met you 5 minutes ago, but you've already read the book that I spend a good majority of my time, doing social media with. It on multiple episodes, read it at least 18 times now. It sits in
At
my
least.
bathroom. I have one copy here. I have another copy in my bag. But someone I never knew, didn't have a connection with whatsoever, has read your book.
That
It's
is
really
incredible.
cool.
But,
And it's just been a busy week, so I haven't been able to text you that.
oh gosh. No, thank you for sharing. And wow, like it's really, it's incredible. I have these new connections out of Oklahoma, and they are just two of the most wonderful individuals that I've ever met. And I want to give them a shout out, but I want to make sure that it's okay to give them a shout out. But the one, it's a husband and wife, and the feedback from the husband was, it's an easy read. And it's interesting because this is a very, very consistent theme. Even on our Amazon reviews and our Goodread reviews, what people say is it's an easy read, but it's not, because it insists that you look inside of yourself and start to think about the things that you don't really want to think about. Right. And, he said, the thing for him is it actually changed his mindset in terms of where he wanted to take his career. He wanted to be more active in his community. He wanted to work with people and help people be more successful. And his wife got in touch with me, and she and I are starting to form like a really, really strong relationship. We exchanged voice notes. Very like that's an intimate form of communication, right? Because you're actually like you're submitting into a conversation with somebody without actually having that conversation. And one of the things that she said was, I feel like I've known you for years, because there were things that spoke to her so deeply and Unbreakable. And I love that. And she's actually taken it and was experiencing conflict at work, and some recognizing that people around her were struggling. And so she bought them copies, a manager and a CFO, and gave these to these women to say, like, this is something that can help you. And now her and her manager actually spend time talking about Unbreakable when they have their one-on-ones. And, that relationship is kind of healing. And I think that this individual, like, she sees downfield where I think a lot of people don't. And I think that her level of self-awareness is like next level. But these are the conversations that I'm having with people. Like, how many times do I send you a screen cap of a message and I'm like sitting in my office with tears coming down my eyes, because I didn't anticipate that Unbreakable would have the impact on people that it does, right? Because, in your head, after you've gone through it, and I'm sure that you guys can even relate to this, your life is just your life, and your experiences are your experiences. And so you just kind of anticipate that everybody has something like that, even though they don't, right?
I feel like having your book in colleges and just like promote it even with like mental health, or I think that could even be a really cool avenue as well. Really helpful.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a great idea.
Especially in
I'm
the
gonna
newer
take it.
generations.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, the other thing, I guess, before we jump into questions is we have our first, dare I say, paid keynote. And it is with the Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association. So they're an arm of workers' compensation, and they have a staff of about 45 people. We're going to be doing a keynote with them in July. And I'm really, really excited because I met with their CEO gosh, in November when I was in Cannes, I had a meeting set up with him, and then all of a sudden it was like, okay, well, you're going to be in France in 8 days. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll just be meeting people at all hours of the day and night then. And, and so we had a really great conversation, and he was really keen to have more about Unbreakable. And we weren't even published then, right? We've been engaging with this organization since well before pre-publication, and it's just been unreal and really, really, really exciting. So thank you for sharing that. It just,
Of course. Like I
that's
said, the
amazing.
week just got away from me, and every time I picked up my phone to go and do it, I was like, oh, I need to go learn something new. I will get to Kate
Yeah.
eventually this week.
Yep. Kate's not going anywhere. Well, actually,
Yeah.
no, Kate's going a lot of places. You know.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
No, it's
dive
really,
into it. So please go ahead.
oh, I was just saying it's really cool about the job. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
really
it's
Thank
so
you.
cool.
Yeah.
It's cool that it is picking up in Canada, especially. Alberta, though, is kind of the spearhead on that. And it is really fun to be that part of it. And just know that people are getting the help that they need.
Yeah, we need it. We need
Yeah.
like all of Canada, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. Canada's, it could be worse, but it could also be way better.
Yeah, we're doing
Yeah.
something about it. So that's
Exactly.
I love it. And it's awesome to be part of a movement that's really organic, right? I mean, Grace, I would really encourage you to go back and listen to. I've got actually probably 3 or 4 podcasts with Earl, because my previous network was called the Helios Podcast Network. You can find it on Spotify and Apple. We weren't on video on YouTube, but the first one that he came on, he altered my emotional DNA with his story. Like it was so hard hitting, and it was just so powerful. And to know him and to experience his energy is a gift. So, okay. So now we do have questions, and Grace, this is so great that you're here, because a lot of them came in from Gen Z. And so, but I don't think that this is unique just to Gen Z. So I'm going to talk to the first one that I really love. And this one, here's the question. People always tell me, just be confident. But how do you actually build confidence when you've spent your whole life doubting yourself? So when we think about that, like, I automatically look at it and I think, well, self-confidence, if we look at it from a clinical perspective, you build your self-confidence, and this is research backed, between the age of 4 and 12. Whatever happens between 4 and 12 is literally how you hang on to it. And what's really, really interesting is that you are the most confident you will ever be at 60 years old, like 60.
Got a few more years to go.
Just a couple more. Just a few.
Yeah.
Although I was on a podcast earlier this week, and this woman was like, man, I wish I had your confidence. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what it took to get here was a lot, right? Like, I don't think that we're born confident. I think it's like we learn by what our environment tells us, right? And I think
Exactly.
that the issue for like younger millennials and Gen Z and now Gen Alpha and Beta is that everything that you've done has been through the lens of a phone. Like,
Yeah.
like when you get up and you do something, are you doing it for yourself, or are you doing it for the likes? Like, I mean, my bodybuilding coach is always like, hey, it would be really great if you would film a couple of your sets and send them over to me, and we could give you a critique. And I'm like, yeah, I probably could do that, but it's like, no, it just seems like too much work for me. But then you have people who go in and they're literally recording every set that they do to post on their social media.
Yeah.
No, it's just to see their form. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Do you know how many times I've heard that in the gym? Like, can you get your 6 tripods out of the way? Oh, I need to see my form. I'm like,
do you really?
When you go and you pop your booty out like it's about to snap your back, it's not about your form.
Yeah.
It's about your likes.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean,
I think I grew up in the generation where I didn't have to do that.
no.
So
Yeah.
I'm still on the, If it happens, it happens, but I don't need a video to
Yeah.
prove it did.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm not in the gym enough to even see these things. So I'm outside. So
Oh, you miss out on all the good stories.
yeah. I know I will be though. I wanna, yeah.
But
But
but when you think about building that self-confidence muscle, like, I mean, Grace, you're coming into the world, you just graduated from college. You literally, I mean, your industry, you and Josie both as artists, um, you are interpreting emotions. Like you're trying to evoke something from somebody. Like that has to take a level of self-confidence.
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, honestly, when it comes to art, for me, I find when I don't even think, and like what I mean by that is probably like flow state. When I'm not even thinking about what I'm doing, that's when the best thing comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Even when it comes like for people listening, like if I draw a line, like I draw a swirl with complete confidence, no hesitation, you can see it and it looks good. But if I draw the line trying to make it a certain way or trying to follow a certain edge and I hesitate even a little bit, I think about it a little bit too much, it looks amateur. Like you
Yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean?
Or
Manufactured.
So
Yeah,
mechanical.
it's very clear those just two distinct like factors,
yeah,
distinguishing factors. Yeah.
yeah.
Where I was the opposite end. I struggled with the whole self-confidence thing, especially coming into the art world. I can accredit a lot of that to childhood stuff where, black sheep of the family, that kind of stuff. And then when it came to art, I took a year in Vancouver and then 2 years back in New Brunswick. And I had one teacher that just hated me. And I can say it now because, sucker, I'm graduated and I'm 13 years into the industry. So
Yeah.
suck it. He just didn't like me because I was gay. So no matter how good my work was, how many crazy special effects I did, how good my animation was, or my fine art skills, he'd fail me all the time. And I had to actually go to the dean and then from the dean fight with the college being like, here is what I produced to him. You grade me because I almost didn't get to graduate because of that one guy. So he bombed my self-confidence because I built myself up and I was like, I am a good artist. I know I am. I've been drawing since I was 2 years old. What this man did and just chopped it down. It
Totally.
took me years to get back up to that.
That's crazy.
So I had to fight a whole college and be like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to graduate because this guy doesn't like who I decide to date, but that's what he's judging my art on.
Yeah. Hardly, right? Well, and I think, I mean, first and foremost, comparison is the thief of joy. We give, well, I have a saying that I use all the time. I have a lot of sayings. We all know this, but the one is, if you give them the power to feed you, you give them the power to starve you. And when you read the 4 agreements, and I recommend everybody read the 4 agreements. I just actually assigned it to one of my athletes, one of our Unbreakable athletes, which is Marilee Toth. Going to give her a shout out. She's kicking the shit out of her prep right now, and she's watching a lot of Unbreakable because she's doing a little bit of cardio every day. And she's killing it, but it's all mindset, right? It's not just getting up and going. And, I don't think she'd be upset with me sharing this. We'll have her on the podcast, but she's really struggling with the fact that I had to put a cap on her weight, on her steps. Like I had to put a cap on her steps. And it's because she was just out there killing herself, because it's counterintuitive for us to sit and rest, right? And so then what it does is it starts to talk to us in our head, and our confidence, whether it's, from childhood or somebody telling us something or behaving in a certain way, or what we've seen an influencer do on social media. God, I mean, my mind is blown by these people who just spew this toxic bullshit out and poison people for the sake of likes. And, when we think about giving people the power to feed us, it means that we're taking the things that they say personally. And it's really, 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 like, we're taught to accept feedback and be graceful about it. And then we get the dopamine hit with it. right? And then when you think about social media is just dopamine, 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 right?
Hmm.
I mean, and this is one of the things that I think is hardest with like my area of focus, which is bodybuilding. It's delayed gratification. Like everything I do today serves me in 2 weeks, in 6 months, in 5 years. This did not happen overnight. This is a 16-year transformation, right? And so uh, the reason I bring Marilee up is not just because she's an awesome human being and a really, really, really hard worker, but it's also because I recommended that she read the Four Agreements. And, you know, inside of the Four Agreements, it's being impeccable with your word to yourself and to other people. Don't take anything personally. And that is the positive as well as the negative. And it is that statement. If I give them the power to feed me, then I give them the power to starve me. You're giving that power to somebody else. And, you know, the thing is that I can just be self-confident, Grace. Josie, just, you know, be confident in yourself. Like my dad used to say that to me. You're a beautiful girl. You're a beautiful little girl. And I'd look at him and I'd say, Dad, you get that monthly check from the government. They pay you to tell me that. And he was like, child, right? And so I think everything that when it comes to our confidence, it starts from within. And there's like, when we look at section 3 of Unbreakable, there is the science of how we rise. And what it does is it invites you to look at how to actually build self-confidence, what it sounds like, what it looks like, what it feels like, and how to tie that back into the psychology of who you are. But then when you go into pathway 4, I want to say, yeah, no, pathway 3 or 4, there's a whole workbook on how to become more self-confident. There's activities, there's tactics, there's way to seek feedback, look for a mentor, find somebody who's not involved in the socials, get off the socials. Don't spend so much
Yeah.
time on your phone because at the end of the day, what you think and what you feel is what matters. And the other side of it is there is not one person who thinks about you as much as you think anybody thinks about you because they are way too busy thinking about number one.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
All right, final thoughts on that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I think you got me thinking. You got me thinking about it because, like, I am confident with my art, but with other things, not so much. And I think just to answer your question on a
Yeah,
like what
yeah.
I if you keep building on doing what you need to do and being positive, walking in the right steps, and then proving yourself. Like there's a little accomplishments will slowly give you the confidence in yourself, the affirmation that you can do, that you can, and it builds you each what am I trying to say? Each accomplishment.
Yeah.
You know what I
They're
mean?
stepping stones. Yeah,
Like a layer of a self
I
assurance
agree.
in a way.
I agree. And it,
The only
Yeah.
thing I would add to that is the only person you need to prove yourself to is yourself, though.
Mm-hmm.
that's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was
I
my
forget.
biggest.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're the only one that matters at the end of the day, no matter how many people you're surrounded by, but you don't have to prove yourself to others. It's got to be inside or it's not going to go anywhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's
All
true.
right, let's hit one more. I've got a couple. Some of these are really fantastic. So let's see here. This one is the dating game. The dating game. So
Okay.
the question is, nobody seems willing to commit. I feel like everyone is all tied up in ghosting, breadcrumbing, or keeping their options open. How do you date without becoming cynical? That's a loaded one.
I'm sorry
So
for me right now. It's common.
just stop dating on this.
Yeah.
You know how easy it
The
is to
talk
swipe
box.
left and
The
right
talk box
now?
isn't a
Yeah.
isn't a dating mechanism. I've never used a social platform for dating.
Oh, I tried once and it was horrible.
Good
But
luck.
now I know why so many people get ghosted and, breadcrumbed and whatever else saying they use now is because you can go and you can swipe on 20, 30 women, start talking to one, talk to 10 others. You go on, you get another dopamine hit, and there's probably 10 plus dating apps now that you can download at your fingertips. constant dopamine rushing, and no one knows how to date not on their phone anymore.
Yeah.
Go out, go to a little community thing, join an art club, join a book club. I don't know, meet the people that,
Share your
like the
interest.
same things as you.
Yeah.
Talk to them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know, it's scary, but you need to just get off the phone.
Grace is
I
laughing
am very
because
against the whole.
it's offensive to Josie. Well, and so Grace, how about you? I mean, you live this right now, right? I mean, as Gen Z, you're an elder Gen Z. We'll say that, right? Like you're kind of like you're the elder Gen Z. I mean, listen, they call me
She's not calling you old.
I'm just they call
Yeah,
me
no,
a
it's
they
only
call me a geriatric millennial, and I'm like, no, I'm a zillennial. Thank you very much. There's
my
nothing
God.
geriatric about this body.
No
Like,
way.
come on.
Okay,
Like
yeah.
so talk to us, Grace. What where are you at? What are you doing? If whatever you feel comfortable sharing in terms of like what your perspective is around this dating scene that you guys are all up in.
Yeah.
And if you do use dating apps, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You can continue to use them. I'm just against that.
After this weekend, I was thinking about maybe the apps aren't the way, you know? Um, but yeah, no, like I feel like everyone's very disposable, very replaceable. That's just how people are being viewed now. I feel like there isn't any like long suffering, like, oh, I'm gonna, if there's a dry moment, someone's bored, it's not worth, there's no like, not olden day love, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know it's not like movies, but there isn't like, okay, like,
There's
I
no
love you.
chase.
I'm gonna like wait for you. No
Yeah.
one's waiting for nobody.
Wow.
No, because you just swipe to the next one.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then honesty, like there's just no. Anyways, I've had some rough experiences. I can't say for everybody, but it just seems that no one can be in a committed relationship. It's a situationship now,
Yeah.
like people are situating,
Yeah.
and they're like, it's just
Waiting for the
yeah.
next best thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where it's sad, especially because we're humans, we're people, we're not objects, we're not things
That's right.
or a rental car, like
Yeah. That's a
So,
great analogy
yeah.
though. Like I think it's interesting because when you look at like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is the path to self-actualization, the best version of yourself, it starts with, food, shelter, safety. But the third level, and I think this is where so many people, and I wouldn't even say that it's one generation, I say it's so many people get stuck, is with belonging. Belonging is a major and significant important piece to your self-confidence, to your ability to network, to your ability to feel safe, comfortable, to find that pathway forward. And I think that what social media and the dating apps and the acceptance has done of how people are dating, the situationship, the breadcrumbing, all of those different things, is because we don't have boundaries. We would rather have a little taste of something than wait and have that delayed gratification to actually be with somebody who is meaningful, who cares about you, and it's the need to be needed in that moment, and that links very deeply back to self-confidence, the ability to sit in silence, to accept who you are when you look in the mirror, to love that flaws and all, right? And I think you're onto something, Grace, when you talk about the lack of honesty, because there's so much shame in people who are not accomplished or who haven't accomplished what, these D-bag, male influencers on social media have done. Like you see guys who are standing next to a Ferrari, but I'm like, yeah, but you're in a pair of Keds that you clearly got from the thrift shop, and your socks don't match, and you've got a hole in your jeans that wasn't actually there when you bought them. So the fact that you're standing next to a Ferrari is actually really disgusting to me because you're putting on affairs, right? And I think the piece around that, though, is that I say this all the time in business. The standard I walk by is the standard I accept, right? And what I mean by that is if you choose, like if we were to apply it into the social context, what you tolerate is what you get. There's nothing wrong with having a standard. And if some guy thinks I'm a bitch because of X, Y, and Z, All right. What was the acronym? I'm beautiful, intelligent, classy, hot, like whatever it was, right? But it's like
Yeah,
what
sure, you
what
know? Yeah.
what well, yeah, but what that person thinks about me doesn't erode my credibility. It's kind of like the back of my hair. It's none of my fucking business. Right? Like, I
Yeah.
Mhm.
mean, I do my best to smooth it all out, but at the end of the day, what somebody else thinks about me is none of my concern. And if my standards are threatening to somebody, then they're very clearly not the right person.
Yeah.
And what you do doesn't change who they are either. You know, I
Absolutely.
Yeah.
for that. Like, oh, I was so nice. Like, oh, maybe if I do this or if I do that, and maybe they'll change. Maybe they'll. It doesn't change
You
anybody.
can't change or fix anybody.
Yeah, yeah. If they don't, then they don't.
And if they don't want to, they're not going to.
It's an
They
internal
don't see a
thing.
problem with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not going to do it.
No, and it's
Yeah.
it's got to be internal. It's got to be something that they want to do. And you know what I really admire is when people do take the time
Ooh.
to focus on themselves. Is it coming down out there? Oh, she's not bad over here yet.
We're getting some crazy thunder. Sorry.
Oh, Grace is like, look at my cat tree.
Power goes out and I go off. It's because my power went out.
So I think the net is I think Josie, your feedback is exactly the direction that I would give anybody. Get out of your house first and foremost. Leave
Yeah.
the house. That's important to meet people. Go do something where you meet people who have a like interest, right? So we're talking a lot right
Yes.
now internally, and the Unbreakable team. We're talking about the book release because I will be finishing the audiobook. And when we release the audiobook, we're going to be looking at releasing a rebrand of the website because we've matured and grown in the past year. And then we're going to be having a book release in Calgary, and we might take it to other cities if there's interest. And with that, there's just, you know what there's going to be there? People.
Whoa.
And probably
Crazy.
a lot of chicks, because chicks dig this shit. But I'm just saying, and I'm just saying, like there are always things going on. You can look it up online. You can follow hashtags. You can find these different things. I was at a bodybuilding competition last weekend. There were lots of people there. It was wonderful, and they're like-minded people. They share my value system, and so find your people. Leave your house and find your community. That is my number one advice. I align with you, Josie, 100%.
Yeah.
Totally.
You just get meaningful relationships that way. And if you want to use your phone, I know in the USA and here, bye Grace, she just fucking drops the phone there. She's like done with your guys' shit.
Hey, don't
There's
like
an-
this feedback.
There's an app called Meetup, which sounds like a dating app, but it's not. I've met, some nerdy game designers from there. They do an art thing every month. Just a bunch of artists go. They have a brewski. They talk with each other. Their phones are out of their hands. And it's actually face-to-face conversations. If, dating is your preference, there's hiking groups. There's cycling groups. There's book clubs. There's dart clubs. There's pickleball's a new thing. There's pickleball things. If you're going to use your phone, just go on Meetup. Start meeting these people in real life, having real life conversations instead of the texting back and forth and them swiping on someone else. I think it destroys a lot of people's confidence because they think a conversation is going well, and then all of a sudden you get ghosted.
Well,
And you think it's a you issue.
yeah.
When it's definitely not you. You're just unfortunately disposable when it comes to that box that we hold in our hand.
Yeah. You're the rental
Yeah.
car,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
coin Grace's
And
phrase.
People are meeting
Yeah.
each other not for the purpose of, oh, I need somebody. It's
Yeah.
oh, like I like to hike. You like to hike too. You're cool.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah, exactly.
all. The intention is more.
Authentic.
Yeah,
It's
relaxed.
authentic. Yeah.
That-
And
Yeah.
I think
flow.
the other thing too is, it also invites you to really just be present, right? Putting the talk
Mhm.
box away and being able to embrace a little bit of discomfort. And I think that this is a part, like when I think about the self-confidence question and when I think about the dating question, I'm just going to say it out loud. I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. You should go through your life looking to be uncomfortable.
Yes.
If you are
Mhm.
too
That's where you
comfortable,
grow.
you are a mushroom in a field.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of your bedroom and go and be uncomfortable. Discomfort. Well, but I get anxiety when I leave my house. Okay, good. And anxiety is brought on
Yeah.
because you're thinking about what is going to happen as opposed to where you are. Be where your feet are. Leave your house. Be uncomfortable. If you're uncomfortable,
Yeah.
good things happen. You grow as a
Yeah.
person.
And you get to practice it too.
Bingo.
Like to just
Yeah.
get used to it. Yeah.
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 It's no different than going to the gym. You have to flex those resiliency muscles. Self-confidence comes from overcoming things you don't think you can do. Self-confident people are confident because they have good relationships with friends, families, peers, colleagues. They make an effort in those spaces. They feel confident in the things that they do for work. I mean, I can tell you, if you asked me to be a barista at Starbucks, I would die. That thought of even working in a Starbucks makes me like it literally makes my heart beat faster. I could never do that.
Yeah, I would die.
I mean, I do
Yeah.
like these crazy projects where like the hundreds of millions of dollars and lives are in the balance, but making Trente iced macchiato, cappuccino with extra pumps of whatever shit in it, I would die. Right?
Yeah.
I know I just said be uncomfortable, but I'm not willing to be that uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable being on a camera. You made
There's
me.
a line.
There's a line, and it doesn't involve coffee. So get out.
Yeah, gross.
Yep. Get out, do the things, be uncomfortable. Tell us how uncomfortable you were, and then tell us how great it was when you were uncomfortable. Because
My grandfather's famous words while I was growing up, especially when I complained about being uncomfortable, was he would just have the most serious face on, whether or not he was drinking or not. He goes, "But did you die?" I'm like, "Well, kind of felt like it." And he's like, "Pretty sure your heart's beating, so you didn't die,
did
right?"
you die?
I'm
Yeah.
like, "No." "But are you listening to me?" He's like, "Yeah, no, you didn't die. Try it again and see if you can go a little bit further." I'm like, "Ugh, you know nothing, Grandpa." Like, and now in my head, if I do get anxious about a situation and I go and I do said situation, I'm like, yeah, I didn't die.
Didn't die.
So it
Didn't
actually
die.
felt pretty good.
See,
Yeah.
my phrase,
Weird.
my phrase to Ruth, weird. My phrase to Ruth is, you'll be better before you're married. You'll be better before you're married.
That's a good one too.
You're fine. You're fine. Go.
Yeah.
Go. Grace is like, you guys.
Totally, bro. Go.
Grace is like, you guys are assholes.
No, which is hard.
Yeah.
We've seen some shit.
Now who's the boomer?
Hey, I'm pretty sure I can out technology all of you
Oh,
guys.
100%. 100%. I bet you I can save random shit better than any of you. Like my dad.
Probably.
So my dad had this goal in life to have a world record on saving bread clips, like the bread bag clips. And
Okay.
I've inherited the bread bag clip collection when he passed away because Ruth wanted it.
Oh.
And so I will travel and I will spend time with my friend in the States, my bestie, Matt, and I will get Ziploc bags full of bread clips. And we'll go to like a Rage fundraiser and Aaron's friends will come with bags of bread clips. Like, so we have a ton of them. And, but what's interesting was after he passed away, I was researching it a little bit and I was a little curious. And there was actually a kid in the US who had cancer, who also had the same goal as my father, which is so weird to me. And so the child ended up unfortunately passing away, and his school went ahead and collected like 3 million bread clips or something like this.
Damn.
I'm like,
Wow.
I have a couple coffee cans. Like I
Yeah.
got a couple decades left, but I'm not sure I'm going to hit the world record for bread clips.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
save your bread clips
least
for
you
me.
tried.
Hey, you miss 100% of the
You
shot.
can make a little like epoxy, like a little memorial piece of some kind with it.
See?
What you could do with it?
Got a whole box of epoxy back there if you want
Yeah.
some.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll
Actually,
make you a table.
that would be so
Yeah.
cool, actually, for Ruth's birthday or something. Her first house to have a
Ooh.
table with epoxy and all of the grandpa's bread clips. Come on, lights out.
Yeah.
All right. You
Memorial
get at me
photo
when
there.
Ruth actually moves out.
Yeah.
It's a little while away, and I'm fine with that. I love having my human at home with me. Wonderful. All right. Well, final thoughts. I would love for each of you to send our listeners off with a final thought. Grace, let's start with you. If you were to leave a little nugget of greatness with people to help them feel engaged and excited for their week ahead, what would that be?
I would say just don't second guess yourself. Say hi to someone that you wouldn't normally say hi to.
I like that.
Yeah, make a new friend. I would say make a goal to say hi to a stranger or anyone that you wouldn't normally say hi to and get to know them. And I just see what happens.
I love it.
Because look what happened with us.
Right?
So, yeah. So I would do that.
I love
That would
it.
be my,
I love that.
yeah.
Listeners, we want to hear it in the comments. If you get your goal met, you have to report to Grace and let her know. Drop it in the comments. Josie.
Pick a moment to be vulnerable. I hate being vulnerable, but every time I have been, has been a very good outcome. So, especially this week, I'm learning even more so to be vulnerable with the people that need to hear that you're a real human. You want to make some good connections? Crack those walls open a little bit. You'd be surprised what comes out of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, my final thought is no different than ever. It is to protect your peace, chase your dreams, and stay unbreakable.
Meaning no camera rolling, no caption for the gram, no, just the real one doing work that the fake ones can't handle. Yeah, you see the difference, that's the difference, that's the difference. They want you filtered, polished, pretty for the beat, she shows up uncut.